welcome back, guys. Welcome to my podcast, Diaries of a Divine Feminine. And today I want to explore the topic, are you experiencing narcissistic abuse? And do you know the signs? So, narcissistic abuse is such an insidious disorder. It's just being in a relationship with a narcissist from my personal experience. And I always tell people this was my highest high and my lowest low. It was such a roller coaster. It was such a monumental phase of my life, like the highest level of color. And at the same time, just stuck in my memory, stuck in my memory body and my energy body in terms of the heightened level of energy of this time period, right? And I've done tremendous amounts of healing around my experience with narcissistic abuse and healing from the fallout of a relationship with a narcissist. But that healing took years. And that healing was deep. And that healing was vast across the bandwidth of my life. And I needed to go deep in order to get to the root of the root, which was so much shame, so much despair, so much abandonment that needed to surface for my presencing and for my and for my feeling and for my healing, right? And so much from my childhood, being the daughter of an alcoholic, having traumatized mom, I guess. So much of that came up for me to heal and for me to understand why I attracted a relationship that felt so emotionally, that gave me so much emotional turmoil and just dismantled my life energetically and spiritually and emotionally. So narcissistic abuse, as I was saying before, feels like a roller coaster. And you can rotate from feeling so loved and clinging on so deeply to feel loved, and feeling admired and feeling special and wanting. And I think that this is the pinnacle of narcissistic abuse, because this person once made you feel like you were the top of the pedestal, And over time, that not only diminishes, but you also begin to feel discarded. You also begin to feel like you can sense the abandonment coming and you don't know what you're doing to cause it. So it's a mental trip, because you want to go back to being the sunset in this person's eyes, to feeling loved and admired and special and appreciated. And then and throughout the course of the relationship, you get doses of that and you cling to that, and it's like a high. And then there are so many other times when you're left so confused and so shocked. And I remember using the expression, it felt like constantly the rug being pulled out from under me. There were times that I felt belittled. Certainly at times I felt devalued. Certainly at times I felt invisible, particularly when we were in a public setting and there were so many other people around who saw my ex in a favorable light. It would almost be like he would be totally content to leave me in the corner in the back of a room, even if I even if I didn't know anybody, just so he could be in the limelight and mingle and just be, I guess, in the center of attention. right? And another feeling that I remember so poignantly, because this was 10 years ago now, or more than 10 years ago, maybe 12, that I'd come out of this relationship. I remember distinctly the feeling of walking on eggshells. And I remember also thinking that every time we went through a period, maybe 2 or maybe 6 weeks where there's calm, and that, oh my gosh, things are good. We feel stable. We feel things feel normal. There would always be something that he would do that would just be like, what? Why? What are you thinking? And it would just feel like we were doing so well. And he would just kind of throw a grenade in the middle of our stable period of peace and contentment and joy and just feeling like you're progressing and moving forward. And this relationship comes with so much disappointment. And that disappointment often triggers feelings of shame and confusion and guilt and worthlessness, because when somebody disappoints you so much, it makes you wonder, makes you feel and question your own worthiness. And the confusion of going from one end of the extreme in their eyes to the other end is also just mind-boggling and and mind-boggling and just nonsensical. And it just triggers shame and guilt. And after, I think, battling with so many of these dark emotions, and after feeling confused in a constant and shocking kind of way, it makes you somehow the bag of emotions and the bag of experiences and the constant jolting and the micro shocks to your energy just makes you question your own judgment, your own perceptions, and makes you question yourself. Like, is it me? What am I doing? And you don't know that you are in the throes of narcissistic abuse, right? Like, you don't know at that time. At least I didn't know. And I distinctly recall a relationship where I felt a heavy degree of control, being gaslit. So if something happened that bothered me and I tried to convey this emotion, it would almost be like, you are the one that saw something wrong with this, or that's not what happened, or you're overreacting, you're so dramatic, or and it's tough because it is manipulation. But at the same time, it's confusing because you look around and you see so many other people that project onto this person, onto the counterpart, as being so logical, so put together. And in my case, my narcissistic ex was successful and logical and very polished and put together, and here I was silently falling apart. And I think that's one of the reasons why I also question myself. And so it does take a toll. And it did take a toll, certainly on my mental health. It took a toll on my physical health. Not only was I, towards the latter years and months of our relationship, just in mental decline. Like, I remember not sleeping well. I remember that I had raging acne. I was always somebody that struggled with moderate acne, but during this period, especially in my late 20s, dealing with the kind of acne that just made people notice and question, are you okay? I also started to experience digestive problems. And I was later diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. I experienced deep, deep, deep levels of anxiety and paranoia and like PTSD, like shaking. And if I were to explain this to somebody else, they would not understand what exactly was taking place that would cause this. Because it's not as though I was physically abused. It's not as though something, overtly dramatic had happened. You know what I mean? So it was just these little microaggressions that just took place over the course of years that just was silently and slowly just dismantling me energetically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and just affecting my self-esteem and my confidence and my ability to feel a sense of trust and assurance within myself. So I want you guys to understand and to know and to learn from my experience that narcissistic abuse is insidious, it's dark, it is the kind of healing that you will need to go to the depths of yourself to overcome. And the top signs, I would say, is feelings of anxiety, feelings of walking on eggshells. So one would be anxiety, and that comes with walking on eggshells, but also that feeling of you have to always be turned on to please the narcissist. You have to be on guard. You have to, sometimes you feel like you have to perform to get their attention. The shame that comes up, and maybe at the time you don't identify what you're feeling as shame, but that's certainly what it is. It's like a heaviness and it's a feeling of unworthiness. It's also feeling emotionally drained after hours or a couple days with the person, like feeling like you need to escape, feeling like you need to gather yourself and recover and rejuvenate. I felt that a lot. And I just thought it was because, it's, a couple of days of just being super, super intimate. But I recognize now in retrospect that it was me being really emotionally drained and overwhelmed energetically. Another sign would be someone that constantly criticizes you and belittles you and competes with you. So, and that's not healthy. And it makes you lose confidence, because certainly one person's strengths could be another person's weaknesses, and you don't want someone projecting what they're good at against you in a way that makes you feel less. That's certainly not love, and it's very demeaning. And if you are being ignored and excluded from activities. So I remember feeling like I'm this person's girlfriend, and he would constantly choose to be with others, like people that he didn't even know as well. Or there were just times that some of the actions that he did just really hurt my feelings, because you think that from what he's saying, I'm his favorite person. I'm someone that he adores and cherishes, and then his actions many, many times did not align with that. And I did feel sidelined often. I did feel ignored. I did feel excluded from social activities. And the biggest sign for me was experiencing lying and cheating. And this was such a shocking experience because, of course, this my ex built up a persona, a facade of someone that was perfect, as someone that was morally upright and decent, and who would never do certain things. And yet I had come to find out that he was living a double life for quite a while, for a huge chunk of our relationship. And that for me was devastating. So those lies, and lying in an insidious way, someone that would look in your eye and lie to you, or look in your eye and promise you, and then you find out that they're lying. There's something that is not right about that. It's dark. And that is what I experienced. So I wanted to share this with you guys so that you understand a little. I hope it sheds a little bit more color on what narcissistic abuse looks like, what it feels like. Talking about it gives me a little bit of edge, even though it's been such a long time and I've done tremendous healing. But it is one of those experiences that is like earth shattering. It rocks you to your core. And like I said, it's an entire life upheaval. It changes your life, because what you have to do to heal from that, to overcome that, the level of spiritual abuse and soul abuse, and some people liken it to like a soul rape, which I can understand it. It sounds very dark and heavy to say that, but I can understand that sentiment and that perception and that analogy. So definitely, if you're struggling with narcissistic abuse, know the signs. Know that you can get through it. Know that you will have to rebuild your entire sense of self to get through it, to overcome it. And the version of yourself that you build will be a fortress in comparison to who you were with that person. So be encouraged and seek support, seek help. I went to a few narcissist abuse support groups. Those were somewhat helpful, but what was most helpful for me was energy healing and doing the type of healing from trauma, inner child healing, journaling, self-care, immense self-care, and a lot of grieving. So thank you for listening. I hope that this was helpful. If you enjoyed this session, please like it, and I'd appreciate that. And I hope that you would subscribe to the channel as well. I'll see you next time. Thanks for